Welcome to Intuition, Your First Sense. This is Vicky, and this month we are going to talk about this month, the energy of July, and how, like, when you know about the energy and what's going on universally, it can help to calm down some of your own energy fears. It can help to heighten your intuition, and it can just help you to be a little bit prepared. So that's what we are going to talk about this week on Intuition, Your First Sense. So stick around. Did you know that most people work with me as a coach because they want to move forward in their professional lives? And then they realize once we start working together that it's a whole person approach, and I am going to help them move through their blocks, their fears, some of the trauma they've experienced, and to create a much more aligned life. So many times I hear, this is not what I thought I was signing up for. And that's such wonderful feedback to have, because if you're signing up and working with a coach and everybody does it the same, are you really being seen as an individual? At Vicky Baird Coaching, I do it all as an individual, and I would love to work with you. Go to vickybaird.com to check it out and see if you'd like to work with me. So July of 2020 is when this is going out. And as an intuitive, I have always tapped into the energy of the upcoming month. It's something anybody can do. You sit, you're quiet, you ask for guidance, you have to step out of the way, you have to let the information come in. It's very helpful. And I used to do energy alerts all the time, and then people would use it for, and I see this with other platforms when people will, intuitives, readers, psychics, everybody put out what their predictions. These are not predictions for me. This is the energy and what's happening and basically what's in process and how we can contribute. But I've seen how people can use it as a reason, much like people sometimes use their horoscope or their Enneagram number as an excuse to not do the work. And I just think that that's lazy. And I think that energy should be informative. It should be contributing to who we are, and we should be contributing to it. So my energy alerts are often about, yes, what's going on? How can you best balance your own self? How can you bring your own energy into alignment? Because you've heard me say it before, if you've listened to other shows, and if this is your first show, welcome. And for those who are listening on a repeated fashion, thank you so much, and I appreciate it. But our energy goes out in a ripple effect, and yes, there's a feedback loop, and what we emit does, and what is of resonance in the universe does get returned, I believe. Not always apples to apples, but for the most part, the energy that you are living in and how you resonate, vibrate, the frequency, all interchangeable for me, will be reflected in your life. So each movement that we go through, we may categorize them as a month, but that's just for our analytical head, in our Gregorian calendar head. It just helps it to put a little bit of context around it. But there are these energy shifts, much like there are with the moon, and with any of your signs and all that. There's an influence that happens. And why I wanted to talk about it this month was because this July is amped. The energy is extremely high, and I know it's going to get more and more combustible. And part of the reason I wanted to do this show this week and took the other shows off the program was because I feel like we can all help, and we can, if we're aware of it, maybe we can temper our own tempers, because it is going to be very fiery. It is it's a month to really hold on to your hats, bumpy ride, whatever other analogy you may come up with. But it's also something that I truly believe any of these energy shifts are, in fact, to help us grow, to help us understand. And let's face it, if you are here sucking oxygen, you agreed to be part of this journey. You agreed to be part of this time. And you agreed to continue learning as long as you were here taking in oxygen. So it turns down the pressure once you come to an acceptance around that. And then it can be more of an adventure and more of a treasure hunt. So in this month of July and into the first week or so of August, it's going to take a lot of being aware of where our own energy is. And part of that is because the message of this month seems to be, like, where is my power? Meaning each one of us will be asking individually, where is my power? What the heck does that mean? And there's a questioning of self and a reckoning with, do I even have power? Where did I put it? How do I use it? What the heck does it mean when someone says you're giving your power away? This month is very much that grid of understanding that I feel like we're in, the grid of questioning, really, of in order to understand, of how can I have my own definition, my own understanding of what power means to me. Very often, the most energetically powerful people you meet don't spew their energy everywhere. They know how to maintain it, know how to even control it. And sometimes people say to me, why didn't you get mad about that? And I'm like, well, I'm in charge of that. I might not be happy about a situation, but I am the one that has to live with the energy that I leak. And if I'm leaking energy, getting mad about things that probably aren't even my business, or I can't contribute to an opening, a learning, or an expansion of, why bother? Because it takes my body and it takes my energy field a lot of work to generate power, just like all of us. It's not just there. We are generating it, and you may not even recognize that. So it's contributed by, what you're watching on TV, what you're eating. Are you drinking water? Are you moving your body in order to generate your own power? So this month, people are going to be asking themselves, well, where is mine, and what is mine? And they may not be doing it consciously. So some people may be spewing what they think is power. They might be bossier. They may be trying to get you to believe they have more power than they do. And no one has a power over you unless you allow them to have that power. And I'm not talking about oppression here. I'm not talking about systemic issues. What I'm talking about is how you respond to your world, how you act in your world. You have the ability, and you have the right, and you have the choice, and then it's the soul given agreement that you will be in charge of your own power and what you do with it. So it stands to reason that you would benefit from doing a little bit of an inventory and asking yourself, what lights me up? What gives me energy? What depletes my energy? Where do I find myself leaking? What are the conversations that just drain the you-know-what right out of you? And this month, it's so charged up already, and it's going to continue to build momentum that some people are going to feel like they're going to explode if they're not aware of what their energy is or how to dissipate it. And I'll talk about that a little bit in a little bit. So you could help yourself as well as others by knowing that this is the pattern that's here. This is the frequency that's here. So say somebody is acting like a hothead and they're not normally like that. Maybe you have a little bit of compassion. Maybe you have a little bit of understanding that maybe they don't understand that as being part of the universal force, that they're affected by this. Because some people will just poo-poo it and they'll say, that has no bearing on me, right? I mean, they're probably similar to those who are walking around saying, I don't have to wear a mask. But, you can't make a collective judgment, but that would be my assumption. So asking, maybe you have a little bit more leeway, and I'm not talking about abusive behavior, or just somebody who's not normally short-tempered. And if they are, you can, instead of reacting to that, you could ask, you all right? What's up? Because they may not be aware. So this month, along with it, brings a challenge in focusing. It's going to take some strong habits and ability to shut out the riff-raff. So that means less scrolling, wasting time on the internet, and being distracted by things that aren't effective or aren't good for you or productive, because we already have enough attention deficit due to our electronics and our habits, and then just the general uncertainty that's in the world creates an inability to focus sometimes. And this energy, though, is bringing about more of that. So anything you have that's consistent, any habits that you have noticed that you've created that are consistent, they're really going to be needed here. You're going to want to overcommit even to those moments of quiet, or that morning run, the weekly Zoom call with your grandkids, or whatever that is. Those habits that ground you, that support you, they're going to have to move to the top of the list, because that will then support the focus ability for everything else that's going on. And like I said earlier, it's just so fiery that some people will be itching for a fight. And if you're one of those people, you are going to get it. Someone is going to respond to that itch. They're going to scratch it for you. And it's just not going to be necessary or end well. So find ways to calm your own jets. Like, find ways to center. 7 seconds before responding is always a good idea, especially if you can feel your ears getting warm or your heartbeat speeding up. Any of that. The back button on your computer keyboard is a very helpful tool, and will be throughout this month. So if you have someone in your life who is volatile like that, it would be best to make sure you've got white light around you, that you are not engaging with any of the behaviors. And if somebody wants to pick a fight, I'm someone who calls people on that, and I'll let them know that I'm not going there. I'll talk to you next week. If you want to have an adult discussion, I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, catch you later, Gator. So just be conscious of that, because what's happening is there's a power that's rising within us, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a lovely thing that more and more people are tapping into their intuition, and they're becoming aware of their chakras, and they're opening up to the idea that there must be more, there has to be more than this dimensional realm that we're in. and they're seeking places of faith within themselves and within their community. That raises power. That's fantastic. And yet, when we're not used to that power and our brain wiring system can often translate it to adrenaline and almost an anxiousness. So it's being aware that, yes, I'm raising my vibration. This is something I've been working on. It's how I develop my intuition even more, is by having a frequency that bounces a little bit more, and that is, a resonance of joy, of light, of humor, of connectiveness. That's a great thing. But when your system's not completely used to it, and so many people are expanding collectively, that it's a bit of a, like one of those, I don't know what they call it, but the rush for the dress, the bridal rush for the dress. I don't understand that myself, but didn't really get that, girl Jean. So when there's just this mad rush for that TV, or it just can be chaos. But if more and more people are aware that, oh, this is what's going on, okay, it still might feel like I'm going to bounce out of my skin, but I know I can go put my feet in the grass. I know I can take a breath. I can paint. I can work with clay. I can bang on some drums or, do a workout, something that can help me be grounded. That power that's rising up within can still rise up, and it can kind of move in and be all comfy, like it's sinking into a really comfy beanbag chair within you, rather than being there like the, animal from the Muppets. So it just takes a little bit for our physical body to get used to it as well. So one of the things that would help would be if those who are using the message of 2020, it's just been so awful, what's next? Stop it. Just stop it. This is life that we're going through, and is it ideal at the moment? No. And I understand the humor, and if the energy is left in the humor of catastrophizing, that's one thing. But so many people are saying, oh, I just want this to be over. Oh, I can't wait till this is over. This is life. You go through life. If life is over, you've croaked. And, newsflash, even if you croak, you're going to come back into another lifetime. So the more you lament about what life is, the more challenging it's going to be, and the more annoying you're going to be to your friends. So expression is important. Being able to speak freely of your emotions, of course, we need that. But stop saying 2020 is doing something to you directly. It's not. And you're not the center of the universe. You're the center of your universe. So change your universe if that's what it's looking like to you. Because I've been saying all along, this is an opportunity to raise your vibration. And I am going to assume that if you're listening to this show, you're interested in that. And the straight shooter in me is just going to say, stop the complaining, because that energy is contributing, and it's one of the things that makes a frequency frenetic rather than astounding or beautiful or happy tear inducing. So energy listens to your words and how you feel, mostly how you feel, but your words usually narrate how you feel. It has great big elephant ears, and elephants don't forget, remember. Well, that was a little bit of irony, but elephants don't forget. Energy does not forget either. So check yourself if you're someone who's been doing that, because the triggers are everywhere. So that could be one for you, that somewhere along the line, someone taught you that if you're complaining or lamenting or worrying about something, it gave you a false sense of action. It gave you a false sense of control. And, we have a control over our response. That's it. Anything else, we have to, proactively invest in ourselves, but we still don't have a control over everything, thankfully, because we'd be nutty if we thought we did. So people during this time are going to figure out where your triggers are. And I firmly believe that if we're conscious and we're looking at what our own triggers are, or if they show up like, hey, I'm here, then you can unhook them. Because if you don't have one, or you don't have those buttons, then nobody can push them. I had a great example this weekend for myself. We were hiking, and my birthday was this week, and I made a commitment to myself, because I previously could be very harsh to myself. It's gotten lighter and lighter over the years, but I made a commitment to myself that my 50 plus 1 year was the year I would be really kind to myself in my physical endeavors. Because I am someone who likes a long hike, bike ride, all that. And yet built a little bit like a Neanderthal and don't always have the structure. However, I have the heart. And I have, the stamina for these things, but I would get so mad at myself that I can't climb the hills as effectively as someone else, that I get out of breath, and that my running pace is locked in at 11 minutes a mile, and who knows if it'll ever be any quicker. At this point, it doesn't really matter to me, but I still get there eventually. So I went into this year, and also knowing the energy of this month going into this hike was good, because I said, I'm going to be kind to myself. I'm going to have a really good time. I'm going to pause when I need to bring my heart rate down, and I'm going to enjoy the nature. And then as we were leaving, someone in my group said something about the pace. And I did have a little flutter in my stomach, because I used to be that person concerned about the pace. And it used to be, meaning a week and a half ago, okay? Some things are still in process. So, but then in my head, I was like, no, I had a really good time. I'm really proud of how I navigated this hike with a current injury that I have. And I had a really good time, and we made good time. So I also knew that because I had my watch. So there was some of that. But the example of removing the trigger, a couple weeks ago even, I might have gone into my old story of, oh, geez, I'm the one that held them up because I have to pause because my heart rate goes so high, yada, yada. But within 5 seconds, I was like, nope, that's their issue. This is not my issue. And there was such a clean energy line between it that I knew I wasn't being snarky. I wasn't saying, you deal with your shit. So I simply said, well, I had a really good time. And I left it at that because there was no need, right? So, and eventually the person realized it and said that they didn't even know why they were on it, because it was someone who doesn't normally bring up pace. So it's a good thing to recognize, to know what your triggers are, and to be aware of that little flippy thing that usually happens in the stomach of them, especially during this time. So it's a process, but you can do it. And, if this stuff is going to be in our face, we may as well take this time to surmount some of these things. So, and this was also where you might need that filter a little bit more, because it will be helpful. Like, goodness gracious, just consider what you are saying before you say it. Because honestly, in my head, what I said to that person was bite me. But I didn't say it out loud, because that would not have served anything. But I also got a pretty good, well, you heard me just now, it still makes me laugh a little bit, that was my response, because that response over, oh geez, what did I do? I screwed this up again, was so welcome to me that I wasn't even really too concerned about what their response was. And I did, when the other person said this later, I did say, well, you want to hear what I said in my head, and we had a good chuckle over it. So, so maybe install a filter. It's a good idea anyway. And yet, when the energy is heightened, we just need it a little bit more. The nice thing about this time is there's a bit of self-empowerment that's happening, and I think that can lead to strong leaders. It can lead to those who may not have stepped up before, who are like, I'll do something, or who are feeling like they are willing to, ask that person out, or have a courageous conversation. It's that self-empowerment thing is ongoing. It's lifetimes of work that we do. But when you feel empowered within yourself, you don't need power over anyone else or a situation, because you know that you're in the flow of whatever's going on in life. So when people talk about self-empowerment and it gets translated to fat head syndrome, it's missed the mark. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is knowing yourself so well that even when someone else is flying off the handle, or you're able to hold your space, you're able to understand who you are, and it's helpful. So there's another reckoning happening as well. July's got a lot. July has a lot in it. So it might be a good idea for me to take a breath here. And this you've likely been seeing because this was June as well. But the reckoning of whether we like the people in our circle. This is a lifetime thing as well, but it's been pretty much in our face lately, hasn't it? About whether we want to move forward with them or not. The reason I bring this up is I'm going to straddle a line here, because I both want to caution about quick removal or quick judgment, given the energy of right now. And I want to say, listen to yourself. Are these people that you've been wondering if they were or want to be part of your circle anyway? You can still love someone and not like them. It's very possible, and it just takes what I consider the Buddhist approach. It takes the non-attachment of being able to say, I really do love them. I just don't like who they are or how they're acting. And I feel like that's a way to honor somebody. People don't like to hear it, but maybe you don't have to say it. Maybe the people will remove themselves. Or maybe their current behavior will remove them. But there's a lot of that happening. It's good to consider in all times of our lives. But there's a pressure at our back asking us, who do you want to move into the next raise in energy with? And how do you want to be? So July really does have a take no prisoners energy. It's not waiting anymore. It's like when my mother was just completely done with our BS, she would yell, "I have had enough." And then you knew you better scatter. You better scatter quick. Or you better do what she'd been asking you to do for the last week. Because when she made that statement, you were about to become a prisoner if you didn't do what was... I used to love those moments because she didn't often show that. And when she did, I'd be like, yes, there's her power. And then I went and did exactly what I was procrastinating on because I wasn't a fool. So that's what this month reminds me of is Diane's "I have had enough." It's almost like, you have not freaking been listening. You better listen now. I'm gonna ramp this thing up so far that you have to listen. So with that, Is there something that you've been working on that you have had a hard time getting the energy behind? This would be the example of using heightened energy in order to propel a project forward, or, like I said before, asking that person out when you've been dancing around it. Ideas that you've had in your workplace but you haven't shared, maybe because you thought everybody's just so tense, they don't know what's going on. Now would be a really good time to do it. You want to option that film, or that book for a film, something along those lines. Now would be the time to do it, because you want to use the force of the energy in order to help propel you forward. And when you understand about how energy doesn't discriminate, it goes and it follows what we're putting out. So if the energy is powerful, it doesn't care whether you're someone with good motives or someone who's an, absolutely repugnant human being. It doesn't care. It's going to get behind everyone. So what is it in your life that you've been working on, that you have ideas for, that maybe you've been putting on hold? Use some of this energy for that. It's very zippy is another way to look at it. And you may actually feel that energy zipping around in your body. Imagine having like a firefly or something fluttering around in your body, and it's just like zing, 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 zing all over the place. It's going to be zipping around in the body. And this will be enhanced if you drink caffeine. I do love my coffee, and I will absolutely stick to the one a day for the rest of into August, because I already talk fast enough. The energy is going to be affecting. I need to add the caffeine to it too. But it's going to feel like that. So just be aware if you're someone who is committed to a caffeine habit, it could shift and it could feel like anxiousness. So just be conscious of that. So this would be a good time to learn how to transfer that energy. So maybe it's time to take that Reiki class or start that workout program. Learn about Oracle cards. I have a class coming out. I just have to record the final video, and then that'll be up on how to do your own readings. Jump rope, hike, learn to dance. Movement will be key. I always am a proponent of movement, especially for tapping into your intuition, because if your energy is stagnant, you will not be able to get any messages. You just won't. You have to move your physical body in order to have your chakras work, in order to receive messages from spirit, from guides. There's a traffic jam that happens in energy when you are sedentary. So whatever form of activity you're at now, add 4%. I don't know why 4 came out, but hey, you guys do the math. Add that much, because if this traffic jam starts to happen in you, the feeling of anxiousness is far worse than any maybe slightly sore muscles because you worked out. And there's all kinds of outdoor classes going on right now where they're safely distancing. The woods are always available, or the sidewalk. Get on your bike, however you best like to move your body, dance. There's a lot that's coming up because the energy is also very nostalgic. So right now, some of the past is coming up and coming to the surface. It's always trying to release itself. And for our better good. I mean, people avoid looking at their own stuff. That'll be next week's episode. But and that just creates more of an energy blockage. So This time is going to be pushing forth some of that nostalgic energy. And again, I told you July was loaded, didn't I? It's so loaded. But with this energy, like I was talking about, and kind of the take no prisoner, I have had enough. Creativity is going to be through the roof, absolutely through the roof. You may not have time in your schedule to get to everything that your creative head is bringing up. Write it down. These are your downloads from your guides, from your soul self, from angels, from those who have passed, from, I don't know, the guy down the street that has an idea and he telepathically sends it to you. Write it down, because you have to affirm it. You have to land it in this realm in order to remember and in order to work on it. So make sure that you're capturing whatever that creativity is. If you're a like a graphic artist, or you're someone whose work ends up being physical outside of themselves, get a rough sketch done, or write out the dimensions, or whatever it might be. Get the information written down. Ideas for writing projects, for courses you'd like to teach, people that you'd like to connect with. You might not be able to get to it for another 3-4 months. That's fine. But take advantage of this time and get it written down. Take a little dictation. So there will be a lot of third eye buzzing. So your third eye is right in the center of your forehead, in the middle of your two eyes, and then come up about an inch. So the ajna, or your third eye, is going to be buzzing. So some people actually will feel a sensation there. Some people might have to blink their eyes a lot, or their physical eyes will be fuzzy. Sometimes when my third eye is trying to take over, I can't even see, my physical eyes will be open, but I can't even see out of them. So I have to then say one or the other, somebody be in charge. I'm either going to sit with my eyes closed and I'm going to perceive things through my third eye, or my third eye needs to pull down the little window shade and let my physical eyes be seeing for me. So this is as you allow yourself to see what you didn't before, or see what you didn't want to before. Maybe some of that nostalgia that's coming up are memories, or are traumas that need to be looked at, dealt with, and released. So the third eye has a way of activating when our soul self is saying, it's time. They can do it now. They can, you can open up. You can see these things. So this may be where the courageous conversations happen. But be willing to have them. It's a great time for openness and stretching those vulnerabilities out. It feels good. It might be nerve-wracking in the moment, but it feels really good to know that you can have a conversation, remain calm, know who you are, come from your perspective, respecting the other person. And nervousness might be there, and yet it's a wonderful time to do that. It's a good time to get some coaching. I'm just saying, because with all this stretching and growing, it's a good idea to have a support system too. So the alone time will be necessary. I think that should be written into every day, but if not possible, every couple days, every week. So you can communicate so that you can hear what are those messages. What is my power? What would I like to be doing with it? That could be planting a vegetable garden or something along those lines. Please don't think that when I say use your power, you all of a sudden have to have a platform out in the world. No, you're powerful in and of yourself, in the being that you are, and you contribute greatly. Those that like a stage will be on stage, but It's not necessary. Our culture pushes that, and it's just not necessary. So, most of all, though, watch where you're placing your energy. If it's in fear, like I was talking about before, about 2020, back it up, get out of there, reposition, recalibrate, create a plan, and then move forward. We cannot afford to be in that fear right now. We can't afford to steer our own ships with fear. We just can't. So if we stay in that energy, we're going to create more things that are fearful and more things that we get to worry about. And it's just not necessary. The energy is so powerful right now, it will pick it up. It does not discriminate, like I said before. It takes what is given and it returns it in resonance. So if I created a graphic years ago that one of my dear friends shares quite often, and I wrote, if you're going to project anything, project light. And this would be a fantastic time for that to be a mantra, to be an intention, to be an action. So fear may come up. You need to ask yourself, am I in physical danger right now? If the answer is no, you let your brain know that you're not in physical danger. Chill your buns out. Is there something that I'm not paying attention to that I need to pay attention to? Ask about your community. Find out where that fear is coming from. Most of the time, it is coming from the inner critic. It is coming from the unsupported side of the ego. So support it. Ask it what it needs. What are you afraid of? Ask it like it's a 5-year-old. What's the matter, honey? How can I help? Because we have to shift this energy. And unless you're in imminent danger or fearful that there's a tiger around the next corner, we have to learn to control that energy, because it's just being shot out so much that it's getting to a level that could be very challenging to shift. And while I truly believe that one person in alignment does have more of an energy resonance or influence than thousands out, we're at a tipping point right now. And I'm going to need a few more of you on my side of the shining the light. And so consider this your call to action. That if you're someone who's creating more than the situation warrants, or you're allowing yourself to be dragged out in drama, this includes your social media posts, people, pay attention to it. Are you promoting fear? Are you promoting education and expansion? Decide which one you're doing. So you may have noticed that directness is part of this month's energy too, and delivering it in the kindest way as possible. So encouraging you to shine your light rather than saying cut the shit is my kind way of hoping you'll flow in that direction. Please, I don't want to be a whiner. I won't be a beggar. I won't. I'll just raise my vibration a little bit more. It's important that you get the rest you need. Get to sleep. Go to bed. Your body's going to need more of it this month than you usually do, because, again, the physical body doesn't always know how to process higher frequency energies. And this is good stuff. This is good stuff, people. This is really good stuff. So, but we have to give it the fuel it needs in order for it to maintain at a collective consciousness that's higher in vibration than the yuck we're seeing. But a lot of the times you got to clear the yuck in order to see the shiny, shiny diamonds. So again, we all signed up for this. And if you're walking around like Laverne with a big L, but you're walking around with a V, with a victim on your shirt, cut it out. We need your help. Energetically, universally, you are powerful and you get to decide where your energy goes. So don't beat yourself up if you realize that, oh boy, I have been sitting in a little bit of the victim energy. Do not beat yourself up. That's when you come in with kindness, with a hug, with a realization, and then you better pat yourself on the back for realizing that you went into that mode. There's been plenty lately that is, some would even say warranted, but I don't believe so. I just don't believe being in that place of complaining and whining without action, which is often where a victim persona lives. Not somebody who is a victim of violence, but a victim persona lives. You have choice. Make a choice. Raise the vibration. So this, I consider this like a energy forecast, something that gives you the information and you get to decide how you use it. And most of all, I want you to be well. I want you to be really well. This does not mean that you have to take on the burdens of society at all. What this means is that it would be best served for you really to know who you are, to be good with you, to be kind to you, and then be kind to others. Because once again, the energy that goes out comes around. So I wish you well, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to Intuition, Your First Sense. As always, please like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening to it. Leave a review and take a minute to share it with a friend. You can find me all across social media at Coach Vicki Baird, and you can book a virtual session with me from wherever you are in the world at vickibaird.com/booking. That's VICKIBAIRD.com/booking. Thank you again, and see you on the next episode.